Right. And at this time, we would like to receive an update on remote learning. And so if we could have Dr. Wilson Norman to, you all join us and give us an update. And I know you have some others that are with you to help share.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Coleman, if you pull up that presentation, we'd like to provide you with an update of our remote learning implementation. I have with me Dr. Fields and Dr. Hill, and 4 principals will join me at the end to share some more information about the implementation of these first 2 weeks. If we think about over the past 2 weeks, we have focused on 4 major areas to help with the transition back to school. We focused on building classroom relationships, connecting students and working to ensure flexibility, making sure that everyone had the necessary tools with hotspots, devices, logins, emails, accounts, and access to our learning management system, along with using our video conferencing tools. We want to just provide you with a quick update on some of the touch points. That when we look at our device deployment, that this year in the first few weeks, we've loaned 17,000 devices, 2,165 hotspots. We have 80 iBuses on the road. That we've had 31,214 students log into Canvas. We have shared 200 new staff laptops with our teachers. That we've hosted over 300,000 live sessions, and we've had numerous calls on our help desk and multi-language lines. And so we've been quite busy trying to make sure that we connect our families with the tools and necessary things in which they need. When we look at some of our challenges as we've gotten started, just ensuring that every student is aware of their logins and passwords and connecting parents with PowerSchool numbers and email addresses. We've heard from sections of our community that we need more Wi-Fi buses in those areas. Making sure that as we enroll our students, quickly getting emails, our team has worked nicely on that. Making sure that everyone gets a device. So if people did not reach out or have not been connected, our schools are working closely with families to find out if they need a device or hotspot. And then just managing when you start to do everything electronically and remotely, managing our cybersecurity. We've also had a few capacity issues. On our first day of school, our state home-based system was up and down with the activity across the state, but we were able to get that up. The state got that up quickly, as well as a few glitches with our CCS district website that with the amount of traffic that it was really slow. But our technology team has since worked on that and fixed that. We've also heard from our elementary families mainly about the need for more flexibility in the schedule, concerns about screen time and childcare. So those are just a few of the challenges that we've been working through as we've opened over these first 2 weeks. That when we talk about our original traditional remote learning schedule for elementary school, this was the original schedule that our families have been working under, and students, teachers, schools over these first 2 weeks. That it is 1.5 hours of live instruction, but in this schedule, the live instruction is spread throughout the day. So there's some in the morning, some after lunch, some throughout the day, as well as the independent or asynchronous learning is spread throughout the day as well. What we heard from our families is that they needed more flexibility than this initial plan. The committee that helped develop the plan developed this plan to help us transition more smoothly to Plan B, and to help us as we transition when we are able to provide more face-to-face. But as we've heard from parents, we are making adjustments to better support the feedback that has been shared with us by our families. And so if we look at the next slide, what we're proposing is that we move to a 6-hour school day, that we reduce the elementary lunch period to 1 hour between 11 and 12:30, that we have brain breaks in the morning, and schools would determine the amount of time for the brain break. All synchronous instruction or live instruction would occur before lunch. And asynchronous instruction, the majority of this instruction would take place after lunch, with the exception of small group instruction. The coordination of afternoon small group times would occur between the school and family, just to ensure that the schedule works for the child, the family, and the teacher. Our teachers would establish office hours and provide support to students in the afternoon so they could reach out to teachers for help, participate in their small group classes. We bolded this last one with resource classes could be synchronous or asynchronous because resource teachers are shared between schools. So in order to do all of the live instruction in the morning, a resource teacher may not be available. And so that's why we say it can be asynchronous or synchronous just due to the scheduling impact that these changes may have. We've asked our schools to start to make this transition beginning on September 1st, but it will take them several days to get everyone in place for all live instruction in the morning and independent in the afternoon. And so everything would be in place by right after Labor Day on September 8th. Thank you, Kevin. That as we look at the amounts of time, and this is a caveat in that these are the amounts of time, but schools will develop and design their own schedules. Some schools may start with math first or grade levels. Some schools may start with ELA. But this is just the breakdown of times for the different sections that will occur. So a whole group would take about 20 minutes, math whole group 20 minutes, science whole group 20 minutes, ELA math and small groups 30 minutes, about 15 minutes daily, and then the resource, art, music, PE, etc. And then for our families who need intervention and enhancement with AIG and ESL, there'll be blocks of time. As much of it as possible will be done in the mornings, but there's just more instructional time needed for some of our special populations of students. And then here's the breakdown of the independent tasks that should last about 2.5 hours a day. And these tasks can be done when it works for students and families, but mainly the afternoons is when the independent tasks will be available for students to work on. And so that is how we have addressed our scheduling issue with moving the live instruction in the morning and the independent instruction in the afternoons. So if we think about a few of the other actions that we've tried to take to address not just the schedule, but other things as well, that many of our schools have put in place virtual support rooms. So if families have connection issues or they have questions, that there are administrators and individuals available who can answer questions at the school site. That we have been asked for additional Wi-Fi buses in different segments of the county, Grays Creek and Cape Fear. We have confirmed additional sites and will be moving some buses around starting next week, and we'll share those updated sites. When we talked about a challenge of email addresses, our technology team and Power School team are refreshing any new enrollments twice a day so that students quickly get emails. Generally, if they enroll in the morning, they will have an email available by the end of the day. So those are just some actions that have been put in place to ensure that we're connecting and getting students enrolled as quickly as possible with the tools and things in which they need. Another area that we put in place to help with schedules is our K-5 Twilight Academy. Originally, we were going to start our Twilight Academy on 8/31, but with the adjustments in the schedule, we want to give our families times to make this adjustment to see if this works, and our Twilight Academy will begin on 9/8. And that actually is for families who have childcare issues, work issues, or whatever the case. We will have live instruction available from 6 to 7 with teachers throughout the district for families who are struggling to connect their students in the mornings. And so that's just another support system for families. We will still begin our tutorial support where families can call into a number if they have questions or their students need extra support. That will be available on August 31st. We are mailing our ELA curriculum materials to all homes. So families will start to receive their books for wit and wisdom or manipulatives that they may need for mathematics. And we are beginning to record our lessons. So we're training our teachers so that now that we have all of our FERPA opt-out information, that we can begin to record lessons in either flip format or live format. So that is available to families as well. to allow students to be able to go back and look at lessons, or if something is missed, to have that opportunity as a support system. When I spoke earlier about our website, that our technology team has worked closely with the provider of our website, we have additional bandwidth so we won't have any traffic issues, and any applications or things that are driven by our state, that our team has quickly put in a system for heat tickets for the state, so that we can get immediate responses and correct those issues in our schools. So those are just some of the actions that we've taken as we've run into a few bumps in the road. How are we addressing those things? So those are just a few of the key actions. I shared several updates from the district of how things are going, some of the actions that have been taken. And as we are continuing to implement our remote learning strategy under Plan C, I wanted you to hear from the field some of the challenges and strengths, students' participation from some of our principals. So our first principal to share with us today will be Regina Blandon, principal of J.W. Kuhn.
Good morning. We've had a wonderful beginning of school year here at J.W. Kuhn. Our Cougars are off and running. We are extremely pleased that we've been using Class Dojo, Twitter, as well as a virtual support room to maintain contact with our families, as well as strengthen our relationship with our families throughout our attendance area. Our school, like so many other schools across the Cumberland County system, have been doing a wonderful job of being willing and showing extreme willingness to work with families with unique challenges and support them throughout Operation Smooth Start. I can definitely say the principal, I am extremely grateful. My teachers are grateful for the equitable allocation of resources across all elementary schools. We are excited about the wit and wisdom material, as well as the additional supplemental materials and manipulatives that are being provided by academic services, because we know that this is going to ensure quality instruction for all of our boys and girls. As far as a challenge, we don't see a challenge as a negative, we see it as a call to action, that we're going to make sure going forward that we continue to communicate in multiple formats to reach all families, both digital and hard copies. Things like hard copy flyers and newsletters will go home via mail, as well as continue to use our social media apparatus like Class Dojo, Twitter, and Facebook to reach our families. And of course, using all parts of Parent Link to make sure that our students and our families are completely connected to J.W. Kuhn, and we can maintain the wonderful start we've already had this school year. So we're extremely pleased, and we feel valued by the school system and supported by our system, and are very grateful to academic services for all they're doing for us at the school level.
Thank you, Ms. Blandon. Next, we'll have our principal of Long Hill Elementary, Monica Carter.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to let me share and brag this morning at Long Hill Elementary, home of the Mustangs. We are off to a fantastic start. I am proud to share some of our successes. I have to say that even though we were as prepared as we could be to start the year, we were very anxious to see how it was going to go, but we are off to a smooth start, and I'm extremely excited about that. We believe the key to any successful relationship is communication, consideration, and connections. I can only attribute our successful start to the connection we have with our community. We truly value our families, we view them as our customers, and we are here to serve them. Our staff and teachers have been working really hard with our families to help them understand the schedule, which can be a little confusing and overwhelming at first, but we've worked really hard to communicate what that looks like and how that will affect the students and the families at home. We have an instructional technology facilitator here who does an excellent job of working with the families from the time our bell rings to the time it ends, just getting them online, answering any technical difficulties, Power School, Canvas, whatever it may be. She is on site, ready to rock and roll with that. We have conducted several parent university sessions, which for those techie or not so techie parents, they've been able to join in at various times throughout the day and on different days to get support from our teachers. And also we are collaborating with our daycares so that we're on the same page with helping our students. And we're offering learning opportunities for our families, such as the twilight hours, flex teachers. We're recording lessons for parents and students to review, preview, to have access whenever they needed to look at it again or review it ahead of time. So we're excited about that too. Our students are now navigating through the content areas and through Canvas, which was a little shaky at first, but we're rolling through it. And that's our next parent session, is going to be helping parents with Canvas too. Our main challenge at this point is our lower enrollment due to our parents. They want their students in schools. They want them face-to-face. So right now they have elected to homeschool or do private until we are back face-to-face. So I'm expecting a mass re-enrollment once we are all together safely in face. And one of the other things that we're doing is we do morning and afternoon mindfulness, which helps with our social emotional learning. It's really giving strategies to our teachers and our students about how not to be so anxious and feeling overwhelmed, giving them different practices throughout the day, and we're teaching them those so when they get that anxiety, and our parents are even practicing it, we can see that off screen, just the breathing techniques and some of the affirmations that we're doing to help them get through when they feel frustrated and help them persevere. So I invite any of you to join our live sessions. If you're interested in seeing what a day looks like here at Long Hill, we will definitely invite you to our meets. I want to thank you all, Board of Education and our superintendent and central service, for the support and putting our students and educators' needs first. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. We'll move to our middle school, New Century Middle School.
Good morning. My name is Jamette McCahern. I am the principal here at New Century Middle School, and I am just proud to share one of our main success this morning is we have accounted for 100% of our students. We have 370 students enrolled, and we have accounted for every student. Another proud success that we have launched our attendance week this week with our community, with our students. Our students are involved in making sure that they were actually played a very important role in making sure that we account for our students as well. You know, we had them to DM, you know, their friend, and teachers as well. They participated and they are continuing to participate. Now, one of the challenges with accounting for all of our students is getting them up and getting them logged in on time in homeroom. And but we're working on that as well, reaching out to our parents and motivating our students to, you know, make sure that they log into homeroom on time. Another great success that I've noticed, I can't forget about our teachers. Our teachers have, I've seen so much powerful collaboration amongst our teachers. They are teaching each other without going to attend professional development in another state or face-to-face. They are learning from each other, and I think the collaboration amongst the teachers right now are so powerful, along with the lessons. I believe our students have been waiting for our teachers to implement some of the innovative lessons that they have been seeing through this virtual platform. So I want to take this time to thank Dr. Stacy Norman and her team and everyone that have helped us to have a great start. I think everything is going smooth, and I just want to say thank you.
And our final school, our high school, Brian Atkins, Cape Fear High School.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to address the board. Cape Fear High School, we've had an awesome opening. Logging into classes, you can tell that the teachers and the students are excited to be reunited in a learning environment, and student attendance and participation is great. I'll knock on wood there for a second. One of the main successes that I'd like to share with you today is the amazing work of our device deployment team. We knew moving to remote learning that having a reliable device for every child would be key to their success. And I'm proud to say through the parent surveys of Cumberland County Schools, the hard work of our teachers, the device deployment team, and our social worker, we have identified and distributed 753 Chromebooks this fall. And that's not counting what we distributed in the spring. So I feel like we got the devices in their hands, which is very important. One of the challenges that we're facing is connectivity, and it's not from the Cumberland County Schools end. As you know, if you look at the CCS map, the Cape Fear district is a very large district, and there's some places in our district where people just don't have options for internet, and there's also no cell phone coverage. This is not a situation where people can't afford the service. It's just not available. We have been working with Kevin and his team. We've been trying different hotspots in different areas to see which will work. There's some situations where a hotspot may work at one house, but not the other. But we're continuing doing that. We're advertising the iBus, and we've placed a Wi-Fi extender in front of our school. So if worst comes to worst, they can ride up to the school and park in front of it and link on that way. The bad thing, unfortunately, we have so many students who live so far apart. It's not like neighborhoods in some areas. The signal may not reach their house of the iBus, so they have to travel. But we're working, and we'll continue to work to find alternatives and options for these students so that they can be successful. The nice thing, our teachers are aware and they're very empathetic to this challenge, and they're working with the students to keep them current on their assignments. So if they do have difficulties logging on, the teachers are very supportive. We know that we have challenges, but I look at them as opportunities, and we'll overcome them and we'll find solutions because that's what educators do. I would like to thank all the hard work and support during these trying times. We're fortunate enough to have an amazing Board of Education, a superintendent, and a cabinet that are supporting not just our students, but also our teachers and administrators. So we appreciate y'all. Thank you.
I thank everyone for sharing their update. We just like to take a moment to thank everyone, the teachers, principals, parents, community groups, and numerous central service departments who helped us pull off these first 2 weeks. We don't mean to share that we haven't run into challenges, because we have, but we found successes in these 2 weeks as well. The teams will continue to iron out the wrinkles in the plan, but we continue to strengthen our remote learning implementation, and we wanted to provide you with a quick update of some of the challenges, some of the strengths, and some of the changes to address those challenges. Thank you for your time this morning.
All right. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions or comments? Mr. Source?
Yes, but I want to thank the team for doing such a tremendous job. It must be so overwhelming to tackle something like this. I just can't imagine. But I was wondering if Dr. Stacy Norman would, Wilson Norman would explain the difference between synchronous learning and asynchronous learning.
Sure. The synchronous learning is the live learning. So where students get to interact with their teacher. So through our video conferencing system, students and teachers are able to engage with each other and other students within the class. The asynchronous learning opportunities are work assignments that are assigned to students that they work on independently. So it could be assigned reading a book, it could be complete an assignment, but it's the independent work pieces that students are doing.
Thank you. One other question. One of the concerns I heard from parents was the computer screen time. Young children spending so much time on the computer screen. Can you tell us? What about independent? Are they using the computer for independent work too?
They may use the computer for some independent work because that's the main way that we can get things to them. When the younger children receive their books, they'll be able to do some reading and some of their math manipulative pieces. So some of the activities are online as well for the asynchronous pieces.
I had the opportunity yesterday to watch my grandson in class, in a third grade class, and he was finished around 2:20. But you know what he did next? He went and got his iPad to play a game afterwards. So I don't know what we can do about screen time. We can only try to manage it as best we can. Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Mr. McKellar?
Good morning, Dr. Stacy.
Good morning.
No, I have a question. for those students who, as was just stated by one of the previous principals for Cape Fear, that can't connect through phone or through Wi-Fi or internet, do we have a program or do we have opportunity that we could provide them with their lesson plans, deliver their lesson plans to them, and then retrieve those at a certain point once this to be completed?
What we're doing, Mr. McKellar, because Cape Fear has this issue, and a couple other sections as well, we're looking at what can we do holistically as a district. We haven't figured it out yet. Some schools have independently worked on their sections that aren't able to connect. We're working on a map. We're using a county interactive map to really begin to look at where is there no connectivity and what can we do for families there, because we realize the iBuses and the hotspots aren't enough. And so we're working on that. That's a challenge that we hope to be able to provide an update on very soon, but we don't have a holistic approach to that at this time.
But while we are working on that, what is how is that affecting the students?
The individual schools are connecting with families. So Long Hill has sent paper packets to students that live in Linden. Cape Fear is working individually, but trying to think about how do we address it holistically. We haven't identified that yet, but individual school principals are working with families.
All right, thank you.
Mr. West?
Thank you, Ms. Van, and I'll just repeat the kudos shared with everybody, because I know you're monitoring and adjusting this in real time, and it's a first for everybody. But I just want to make a statement and then ask a question of Dr. Wilson Norman. We've been on the whole meeting is just past the 30-minute mark, and Dr. Wilson Norman's presentation, it was over 20, it was 20 minutes. Imagine introducing a new math concept and just having to do it in that amount of time. It's a tremendous challenge for them to get it all done in 20 minutes. So we've got to strike the balance. And I know this may have been an overreaction and there's a balance in between, but we've got to match, the parents' feedback and what we feel is best for the children. But, we want this to be a real school year and not water it down either. So I support this change. Let's try it and see. And hopefully we'll get back together sooner rather than later, and this will go away. But 20 minutes isn't very long for these teachers to do what they need to do, but I support it. My question is, this was mostly about the elementary schedule. How's the feedback, just briefly, on the middle and high school schedule working for the older kids?
We've not heard a lot of feedback about the secondary schedules. From the teachers, it seems to be working well in terms of parents calling in and sharing feedback. When I talked to a few parents who had elementary and secondary children, they talked about the older students were able to log in. They were more independent. They talked about how wonderful the teachers were. So the schedules for secondary seems to have struck the right balance. For elementary, what many families were saying is that it went on throughout the day too long. And so we agree that we have to strike the right balance of ensuring that we're covering the content, but making sure that our families are able to support their children as well. And so we're looking at multiple ways to support that.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Williams?
Dan?
Good morning,
Ms. Williams
and
had her hand up.
thank you. Just for clarification, when we look at the whole group and small group live instruction, that page, and I'm just making sure I'm understanding it. When it says at least, we're not looking at the schedule they have. My understanding is the school will develop the schedule, so they may borrow some of the small group time and put it in that 20 minutes. Am I making any sense? In other words, it's not just 20 minutes and then 20 minutes and 20. That's not what you're saying. You're saying, I think, that schools will use that flexible, that time, and they'll make their schedule work, that they may need to borrow from some of those. And
That they will make their schedule work. And some schools may put the whole group and the independent blocks together to make a whole literacy block. Some schools will have to adjust because of how they share resource teachers or the size of their staff. And so these are guidelines for the schools to develop their schedules. But for
Right.
the most part, the live learning should be in the morning, the independent learning in the afternoon. But they will connect things to make it work best for their students and schools.
Right. And so the key there is at least
Mhm.
1.5 hours. I think that's something that we need to look at. And just, I can't thank you enough for all the questions that I've had. Of course, a lot of ours have dealt with working parents and connectivity. I can't say enough good things about the IT support, because my district from Linden all the way to Beaver Dam is really struggling. And it has been quite a challenge for both academics. I mean, all of you have personally answered phone calls when I could not answer the questions. And same thing with IT. And I can't thank you enough for trying, in a district this large, meeting an individual child's needs has to be difficult. And I just appreciate all you're doing. Obviously, we're not there yet, but identifying the fact that we know the hotspots aren't, the bus is not working. You know, I'm riding through the district, seeing the buses, and it's not getting where it needs. So the fact that you're readjusting what needs to be, that's at this point, I think what we can do, and then making sure that those children who don't have access are still getting what they need. But again, I thank you, and I appreciate this flexibility for parents who are needing to go to work in the afternoon, and they're able to flex that asynchronous learning so that when they come back at night, they can work with children. That is a game changer as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Ms. Van?
Yeah, somebody keeps, who is that? Miss Chisholm?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to say that we all realize this is a new situation for all of us, for the district and for the parents and for the children. But I really do appreciate all the wonderful ways that y'all have changed things to accommodate everyone and accommodate everything. And with anything new, you're going to have to do a lot of it by trial and error and changes. And this team has done a wonderful job. I have one request on your remote learning touch points. I'd like to ask Dr. Conley if he could ask Dr. Wilson Norman if she would please email those stats to entire board members, because we know we don't have a lot of time, and then I can't write as fast as she can talk. But anyway, I was trying to keep them because I want to see what it is that we're actually doing. And I'm a virtual person, so I like to see it on paper. I only wrote down the 17,000 devices, and then she got away from me after that. But I appreciate it very much if we could do that. And
Sure.
Dr. Conley, if you will have that. Because I try to send all my requests and all my answers and things that I need through Dr. Conley. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Conley?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Chisholm. We will make sure that that is sent to you. I do want to know also, even though we
Oh,
don't.
excuse me, to the entire board. I want all the board members.
Yes, ma'am.
They may appreciate having it too. Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
We'll stick to the entire board, so you have those stats. But I also want to note that obviously for students with disabilities, the individual schools are working with those families that may have some special needs that need to be addressed in terms of the appropriate schedule or how their academic instruction is provided. So children with disabilities, especially those in the separate classrooms, the individual schools and teachers are working with those families.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to sort of go to what Greg was talking about. You know, when I first saw the 20 minutes, but then I had spoken with Dr. Wilson Norman, Norman Wilson. What is that? Wilson Norman. I'm sorry. Anyway, if we go back, Minnie, I'm dating myself. in my years of education as being an educator, but we go back to effective schools and how we used to write lesson plans. And we started out with, our introduction and our the teacher input, which is that teaching, and then guided practice. That didn't take very long, and then you give them independent practice to make sure that they can do it. And I think that's basically, if I'm wrong, Dr. Hill, tell me, or basically what we're doing that teacher time, and it's 20 to 30 minutes. We're talking elementary. You can't keep their attention much longer than that. And so then when they practice it, that is independently on their own or in small groups with the teacher. And so that's how I see this, is sort of going back and kind of getting back to the basics of what what it used to be like when we did our effective schools and did our 6-point lesson plan. And things like that. And it's just, it's different, but from what I see with the times and being an elementary teacher and principal, these times are good. They really are. And yes, you have to be flexible. If it's going to take you 25 or 30 minutes today to introduce something, then tomorrow it may not take you as long to do what you're doing. And you give and take your times. So I think that y'all have done a great job with that. My other question, I do have a question though. And I think I said something before about this, I don't know, or Dr. Wilson Norman, if I didn't. The amount of time for the breaks. 20 minutes is a lot of time. And I know you think, well, elementary, they need that time. But with elementary, you let them have 20 minutes to go start something else to work with. They might start playing on their Nintendo or whatever it is now. Sometimes you sort of lose them. I heard you say that the breaks, there was flexibility. Is that with schools or with grade levels, or it just sort of concerns me. For instance, I had one not suggestion, but in speaking with somebody, she's got 2 children, both of them young, but their breaks are at different times. So one's up trying to get energy out while the other one's trying to work, and it's causing a disruption. And I know that's something that it's going to happen. We can't make everybody's schedule to, but is there a way, we can make breaks not quite so long, or?
With the move to all the synchronous in the morning, they're not going to be able to have 20-minute breaks to be able to get it all done. But I want to be transparent in saying I don't think that the school could have the whole school on break just because of the staffing issues. But their breaks will probably be from 5 to 10 minutes. And Dr. Hill, you may want to add with meeting with the principals. That's kind of what they're leaning towards. Dr. Hill, did you want to add something about the schedule?
Yes, ma'am. With the breaks, they said that 20 minutes, they kind of lost the students during that time. So they wanted to go back to just a 5 or 10 minute break. And then
I can't hear you, Dr. Hill.
I'm sorry. I'm down here at ERC and I'm trying to, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. The school said that the 20 minutes was in fact a little too long. And so they wanted to go back to have flexibility of 5 to 10 minutes. Another issue that has arisen when you have siblings that are in the same grade level, but may not be in the same classroom, we're trying to make sure that at least grade levels will have consistent times for breaks for families that may have siblings within the same household in that same grade level. So they're looking at that lens as well in regards to the breaks.
Okay. And you said lunches were just an hour, but they get to, the schools can choose anywhere between 11 and 12:30.
Yes, ma'am.
And choose an hour. So they won't be having an hour and a half lunches.
Precisely.
Great.
They said,
Especially with their afternoon being asynchronous. So if they take a little longer at a feeding site, they can still do the work on their own. So that's why we were able to cut the lunchtime.
Great. Okay. Okay. That sounds good. Again, it seems like every concern that I have had, and of course, you know, I relay all of those to y'all. You have listened to the community, and I know that we want to do what's best for the whole school community, but the children are first, and I believe that the changes and the tweaks that y'all have made will really help with the success of this program, not just educationally, but in the home settings as well, with parents having to work and things like that. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments?
I have one statement. Ms. Chisholm asked that you send the paperwork to board members, and I'd really like to make that request again, because I'm telling you, the children have too much time in the 20 minutes because our listening skills just won't allow us to pay attention after that point. But if you have had a stroke and you're sitting in a meeting for an hour with someone presenting it, it does pose difficulties. So if you would I made the request maybe 4 years ago that you will send the hard copies to me so that I can move with it. I haven't use of the right hand yet, so everything is done with the left hand. I need you to help me with that and support me with that. So for all of the cabinet members, if you have a presentation, I know you send it to me through the computer, but it would be much easier for me if you will do that one thing. Thank you.
It's much great. If you would like, we can print out the presentation and have it delivered to you. Would that work better?
That is exactly what I need.
All right, no problem.
Thank you. Any other committee concerns? At this time, I'm sorry, Mr. Source?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I want to say that I really appreciate what the committee has done and the staff has done to make things happen. And I think we really need to remember that expectations need to be high. As a former teacher, I knew at the beginning of the school year, my expectations had to be very high. And you know, when I was listening to my grandson's lesson yesterday, I heard that. I heard the teacher say, reminding them of the rules, reminding them of, you know, how you log in and so on, and keeping kids to task, because when they go back to face-to-face learning, they're going to have to be prepared for that expectation. So thank you very much.
Okay. All right, at this time, I would like to adjourn the curriculum committee.